I met Sir Paul McCartney in the corridor, and I nearly sort of fell over, and I just went, hello, and he went, oh yeah, and I walked past and went, I just said hello to Paul McCartney. It's just ABBA were actually on the plane, and obviously we're sitting down the back, and they're sitting up in business, whatever it was, and I said, maybe they'd be interested in recording a record for us. And I actually got a serviette, and I wrote a message on it.
Virgin Radio 80s Plus.
Hello, Thereza from Dollar. How you doing?
Hello, my darling. I'm very, very happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're absolutely thrilled to have you here. You've come all the way, in my head, you've come all the way from Australia for me.
Just for you. Correct.
That's
100%.
how I'm taking it.
Yes, I say that's good.
Welcome to Virgin Radio. Welcome to Virgin Radio 80s Plus. I've got so many questions. You were such a kind of pivotal figure in this time we're talking about, in the 80s. It's almost like kind of you owned a bit of the 80s. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, with all the positives and a few of the, like, they're so cheesy, and she's just a bit of fluff, and I'm going, no, I'm not, I'm not. But it took a while to get people to rethink their comments, but we did eventually.
It's weird how things have done a 360 though. That's now cool. You're now cool. People look at the outfits and go, oh my god, that's amazing. You know, and people are trying to replicate what you were doing back then.
Isn't it funny? They always say things come around. Sometimes it takes a bit longer, but they come around. So I'm very happy to be back in the UK. It's home. I mean, for me,
it's lovely to have you back every afternoon here at 4:30. You're picking your favourite songs. How difficult was it to come up with this list? Because I said we need to, got to be strict with you. 10 songs.
Oh, it was such a challenge. I mean, I think I had 20, and I kept thinking, got to get to 10, got to get to 10. And the last two, I was agonising. It was kind of like, don't want to offend anybody. Which ones do I leave out? So, it is, as we said, coming into the studio, it's a bit kind of the weather can influence you, or a bit of nostalgia.
How you were feeling on that day.
Yep, exactly.
So we're going to go straight into your list. Your first song on the list is
Yazoo, Only You.
Why have you picked this?
Oh, well, Vince Clarke can do no wrong in my world, and Alison Moyet's voice. And it's just, when this record came out, I must have played it over and over. I must have listened to it thousands and thousands of times. And I sing along, and I love the harmonies and the construction of the synths. It's perfect.
How did they do a song, I wonder, 'cause as a musician, how did they create a song that sounds old school, but it sounds futuristic all at once, doesn't it? And you don't know quite how you're feeling when you're hearing it, but it's so pivotal. How do you create a piece of music like this?
I would say this is like a genius piece of music, just because it's simplicity. And of course, we all know, as you strive to create something that sounds so easy and so simple, it's never easy and simple. It's hard, and somehow, I don't know. It's just Vince Clarke. It's just. He's a force.
As this song starts, as we play it now, tell me how you feel when you hear the opening notes.
I think I feel like I'm just back in the 80s, really. I'm just like in my early 20s.
In your happy place.
Yes, in my happy place, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about Dollar. Because, for a certain portion of the 80s, people remember you and they go, that was the 80s for me. You and David on stage and Top of the Pops and everything. Have you got one song that you love more than the others?
I suppose it probably, in a way, it's probably Handheld in Black and White, because that was the beginning.
Right.
And that was the beginning of the Trevor era. And
tell me about that.
Oh, the sound. So it all happened it happened sort of accidentally on purpose, in so much that the second Dollar album wasn't successful. It was a flop. I suppose I should still learn to say flop. But it was because we tried to move, again, times were going so quickly production-wise, that if we didn't want to continue on with the Chris Neal style, which was almost pop MOR, middle of the road, we wanted to become more contemporary. So we went a little bit too much to the left, and we became a bit too rocky, guitar orientated. It was a bit too big a step.
And do you think that affected the popularity? People were like, oh, they're not the same band that we knew and we loved and we bought the records for.
Yeah, that's so true, and I think that's always a real dilemma for an artist. How do you keep moving forward and expanding your horizons musically, and not making it predictable, but not going too far, which therefore the fans you've got go, oh, I don't really like that.
It's difficult, isn't it?
It's very, very difficult.
Can you tell me, a question for you, watching all your old performances, which is a joy, you on Top of the Pops and the old sets on Top of the Pops and the signs that have been put up and stuff, it looked like it was a lot of fun, was it?
No.
Right.
That's the illusion of it, isn't it? Oh, the Top of the Pops. It's a grind. I mean, you're so thrilled. You get told on the Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock in the morning that you've got Top of the Pops, which is filmed the next day. And there's me racing around going, what am I going to wear? Because we didn't have an entourage. I mean, no one said, here's your wardrobe, darling, and what would you like to wear today?
So you had to buy your own clothes?
Yeah.
Wow.
And also had to imagine what the image would look like, because you can't wear the same thing again. And you've got to be a bit try and surprise and please. So that was always a stress. And then you get to the studio sort of, I don't know, mid-morning. And then you've got the whole day of sitting in a clinical dressing room, doing nothing. There were no mobile phones. There was nothing. I mean, so you just sit there. So I'd look at David, he'd look at me and I go, should we do another practice? And he'd go, don't want to do that. We've done it 3 times. And so you'd end up wandering up the corridors. But, and then I'd...
Could you meet the other bands and the other artists?
Yeah,
as well?
but no one really spoke to each other. Like I met Sir Paul McCartney in the corridor and I nearly sort of fell over and I just went, hello, and he went, hiya. And I walked past and I went, I just said hello to Paul McCartney. It's just, and then you walking, if you're going off to the rehearsals, for the show, you're seeing Susie and the Banshees with her incredible makeup and hair, and then you've got Kate Bush, and you've got, and you just really feel like you want to have a chat, but I was always a bit nervous. I felt vulnerable, and so I kind of was always like inside myself, just trying to keep myself together, for the performance, because you really don't have much opportunity to do it again. You just have to get it right. And
this was back in the day when Top of the Pops managed to get millions of people. I mean, it was an event, wasn't it? I remember Thursday evening, 7 o'clock, my friends at school, we'd all watch the same thing, and then on the Friday talk about who we loved and stuff. You don't really get TV shows like that anymore, do you? It was an event, an appointment to watch. It was.
I mean, that was the thing. That was TV back then. Telling, that Thursday night is Top of the Pops night, and you'd all sit around, But for me, I think I would have freaked out if I'd have thought, oh, these people are watching me. So it was literally really focused, down the camera, and trying to be a professional, and maybe imagining somebody, a friend. But just, they say, like even in the theatre, don't look at the crowd, just look to the back and just imagine you're singing to one person.
Here's a question that I've never asked anybody, and I want to ask you because you were around at the time. Your next song is ABBA. Now, I'm wondering, when this song came out, were ABBA, because obviously ABBA now are legendary, aren't they? And people look back with fondness. What was it? What were they like in the 80s when songs like this were coming out?
Well, I suppose it started in the 70s even, didn't it? And I remember sort of we were out with friends or something, and I go, oh, have you heard the new ABBA record? It's great. And they go, shh. I'm going, what do you mean? I said, you can't talk about ABBA. I said, why not? They said, because they're not cool and their music's not good. I said, excuse me. And everyone was a closet ABBA fan. They absolutely were.
It still goes on now, doesn't it?
And I was the one going around, but they're great. Don't be so silly. Listen to their music. Listen to the feel and the musicianship and the melodies. And I would be ranting on, and everyone would be going, really? And you know what? It takes a lot of courage for people to say there's nothing wrong with fantastically crafted pop songs. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
But everyone was trying to be so uber cool and left to centre and kind of trendy. And I was going, I don't care.
No, it's just a good song. Could you ever envisage, when songs like this came out, the beginning part of the 80s, that 40 years on, we would be sat here about 10 miles away from where there's a bespoke arena with them playing as kind of holograms with avatars?
I know. Isn't it? It's just beyond extraordinary. I'll tell you one very quick funny story. So David and I were on a plane going off to do television somewhere, and ABBA were actually on the plane. And obviously we're sitting down the back and they're sitting up in business or whatever it was. And I said, maybe they'd be interested in recording a record for us. And I actually got a serviette and I wrote a message on it. Now, if I'd been smart and just put SOS and my number, they might have taken a bit of notice, but I never got a reply.
Oh,
but it was a shot.
What a great idea, though.
Should have done, but it was
brave as well.
It was great, but I love their music to this day. I mean, they're just again a bit of timing, I guess, which is what life's all about. But just so, I mean, futuristic. Yes, look, they stopped for a while, and I guess that's pertinent to me. You can stop and do other things with your life for maybe a large chunk of time, but that doesn't mean you can't come back.
No, okay, great.
Because the music is the thing that it's forever.
Now, this Paul Simon song, for me, I always think of the video immediately because it's such a funny, clever video.
Yeah.
But why have you picked this song?
Oh, I think the one thing, it's the best bass riff I have ever heard in my life. And I actually, but in COVID, particularly during COVID, I used to play this a lot. I literally used to dance around my kitchen and living room just to kind of pick me up a bit. It's one
Were
of
you
the,
in Australia
yes,
when that happened? Because
yeah.
Australia had a really, really serious lockdown,
Yeah,
didn't it? I mean, we had, it was bad here, but at least you could leave. But I hear in Australia, you were properly... How did you survive?
I started writing a book. It's just like probably so many people. But I kind of, I survived. I started making new dishes, cooking different things because I had the time. And but listening to different music or revisiting. I was revisiting kind of all the silly things that we did, and I was also revisiting some of the music that used to elevate my mood. And this track, I mean, it is one of the best, and it's kind of, it's the band is so good, but it's kind of it's still dancey, but not dancey 80s dancey, but it's 80s. It's completely different. But I think it's just brilliant, and Paul Simon's voice sort of like intertwined with all of this. And then of course you've got the live version, in the concerts, and then you've got the video, which is just
and it's kind
magic.
of funny because it's like they got Chevy Chase. I always have a laugh when we play this song on the radio and say they blew all the budget on Chevy, and they just were like, oh my goodness, let's put him on a stall. And it's so simple but so effective, isn't it?
It's just so good. It's just, that's kind of the less is more idea,
absolutely.
isn't it? Yeah.
Here's a tricky one. I know the answer. I know my answer. What's the best David Bowie song that ever was?
Oh, Ashes to Ashes.
Well, I'm so glad because I think the same. I'm overjoyed that you've gone for this. I love this. What is it you love about this song?
It's so ahead of its time creatively, melodically. Again, David Mallet, my dear friend, he produced this video.
Oh, did he?
He did. Excuse me. And it's just, there's a poignancy about the melody, and it sounds so easy, but just the riffs, everything about it. Again, I get mesmerized, and I just listen to it.
The
and
last
then,
1 minute kind of takes your mind on a. I never want this song to end.
I agree, and sometimes I've actually played it 3 times in a row just to kind of let it sort of sink in, because it kind of gets into your pores, doesn't it? It's amazing.
Thereza, thank you so much for coming in this week.
Thank you, my
It's
darling.
lovely to meet you.